Okay, so this time we are going to talk about genetics. And in genetics, guys, this is kind of going to relate to meiosis and mitosis a little bit more of meiosis, but we're going to talk about how you inherit things and what those inherited things actually mean for you. So, let's start off. So, for any trait, whether it's your hair color, your eye color, whatever, you are going to have two of each of those possibilities for the trait in you. We call these, I'm using R, you can use any letter, it doesn't matter. This is an allele, okay? That could be dominant, like the big R here. Or if we do the small r, it's also an allele, but that allele is recessive. Okay? Now, for regular dominance, which we're going to go over, it's called complete dominance, the dominant allele is going to mask the recessive allele. In other words, we're not going to see this one, and I'll show you that up here. Now, we are going to, like I said, have two alleles from each trait. Well, where do they come from? These alleles, you are going to get one of them from each parent. Remember that chromosome that your parent gave you during meiosis, whenever, sperm and egg meet together? Each parent is going to give you one allele. And whether they're dominant, whether they're recessive, that's going to determine what you look like, okay? So I'm not going to use a lot of the human ones because the human ones are more complicated than you actually know. Hair color is very, very complicated. Brown hair is dominant to blonde, but that kind of excludes black hair and red hair, so we have to bring those in, and those are on different chromosomes, and it just gets so confusing. So, easy ones to use are flowers, okay? So I'm going to use flower color, because flower color is extremely easy. So we're going to say that in our little prompt here, we're going to say that blue flowers is dominant to red flowers. Okay? So blue is dominant to red. Now, we're going to go over three different types of inheritance here. If we have homozygous dominant, okay, we are going to show that dominant color. What that is called a phenotype. So the color is the phenotype. All a phenotype is what we can see. Okay? So big R is going to be blue because blue is dominant. Okay? Now, like I said, that's the phenotype. The alleles that we have, the two alleles, that is going to make up your genotype. So by that genotype, we were able to tell, hey, the phenotype is going to be blue. All right? The genotype is the letters that you are going to have, whether they're dominant or recessive. Okay? So that's our first one. We're going over complete dominance. And when you guys get problems on this, it might say, hey, this characteristic is inherited by complete dominance. There's another way to know it, and I'll show you that in a second. Okay? So sometimes it'll just actually tell you the type of inheritance. So if we are heterozygous, and what that means is the prefix hetero means different. If you are heterozygous, that means your alleles are different, meaning you're going to have one dominant and one recessive. So in this one, for complete dominance, that dominant allele masks the recessive allele. So this color is actually still going to be blue. Nothing changed there. Now again, blue is dominant to red. So our last one is going to be homozygous recessive. We have two recessive alleles there. Prefix homo means the same. So when you guys see homo, recessive, you know that they are the same and they are both recessive. We have our red, and our red is going to be our recessive color. So homozygous recessive is going to be red. Again, that is for complete dominance. If you notice here, For complete dominance, we have only 2 options for phenotypes. We have 3 choices for genotype. We could be big R, little r, little r, little r. But for phenotypes, we only have 2 options here, okay? Now, let me move over to incomplete dominance. If they give you a Punnett square problem and it says, hey, this is inherited by incomplete dominance, here's what we do here. Homozygous dominant doesn't change. Nothing changes there. It's still going to be blue because blue is still dominant to red. Everything's good. Homozygous recessive, I'm skipping down to the bottom. I'm skipping heterozygous for now. Nothing changes there. We're still going to be red. We're all good. Here's where the difference arises. For heterozygous, we are no longer going to have that blue color. If the type of inheritance is incomplete dominance, it's not going to be blue. It's actually going to be a blend of blue and red. And out of that, we're going to get a purple color. Mix blue, mix red together, we get purple. So for this flower color, if it's incompletely dominant inheritance, we are going to get purple for the heterozygous. That's the only difference between incomplete and complete dominance. If you notice, based on that difference, we now have 1, 2, 3 phenotypes for incomplete. Remember I said complete dominance only has 2 phenotypes? That's another way to tell the difference between complete dominance and incomplete. Not only do we got that blend, but we got an extra phenotype in there, okay? Last form of inheritance. Now, this one, guys, I don't want this to scare you because sometimes what they'll do is instead of doing the R's here or whatever, or the B's, they might do like RW or RO, okay? Just, they might throw 2 letters in there instead of doing the capital and the dominant. Why? Because they are codominant together. That means that we're not really having a recessive allele, all right? So, nice thing is, with our homozygous dominant, nothing changes again. So for codominance, we're still going to have that blue for homozygous dominant. For homozygous recessive, nothing changes there. We're still going to have red. Here's where our difference arises. When we have our heterozygous once again, it is no longer going to be just that dominant color. It's no longer going to be a blend. We're actually going to see both colors. And it might be blue with like red spots or red stripes, something like that. I'm going to write stripes down here. Okay? So there we go. Let me just do a quick problem for codominance here. Let's say we wanted to cross 2 blue flowers that both have red spots. Okay, so we're crossing 2 heterozygous flowers. So let me show you how to set up a Punnett square real quick. I'm going to say it's a codominance problem, and I'm going to say we're crossing 2 flowers, both are blue with red stripes. Okay? So when you are setting up a Punnett square, on our test, all we have to know is how to do monohybrid crosses. What a monohybrid cross is, mono means 1, so we are only crossing 1 different trait. They can get very, very big. We could do a dihybrid where we are crossing 2 traits, and we actually get 16 boxes out of it instead of just our nice 4 here. So they get very big. Okay, so here's our Punnett square. One person you're going to put on top, the other one on the side. Now, if you remember, I said our problem was codominance, and we were crossing 2 flowers, both are blue with red stripes. So they're both heterozygous. We put 1 letter above that box. We put the other letter of that parent above this box. Coming over here, same thing. 1 letter there, 1 there. Okay? And all you do is carry these down. This box we'd have big R in. This box, we carry this one down, carry that one over. Always write the dominant before the recessive. This box here, carry the big R down, little R over, and then lastly, 2 little r's. Okay? So if we wanted to do like a genotypic or a phenotypic ratio here, genotypic ratio, we would have 1 big R, we have 2 big R, little r's in there, and we have 1 little r. Okay? Those are genotypes, that's called a genotypic ratio. If we want to do a phenotypic ratio, the big R would be blue. We have 1 blue. We have 2 striped. I'm just calling them striped instead of saying blue with red stripes. And then we have 1 that is red. That is how we do a Punnett square. Okay? Cool. All right. Last thing I'm going to go over with you guys is pedigrees. Pedigrees. And I'm just going to give you a real basic overview of pedigrees before we call it a day. I'm not going to go real in depth with it. Okay. So what a pedigree is essentially a family tree. And this family tree is going to show us certain things for different traits in that family. So anytime you see a circle is a female. All right, so circle, female, and squares are the males. Okay? When we draw a line between a male and a female, this means a marriage has occurred and they are able to have kids. Okay? So these are their kids right here. We're going to say their first one, which would be this side, would be the oldest. That's a female. We're going to say the middle one is a male. We're going to say this one is another female. Now, with a disease or a trait, whatever, okay, we could say it's like cystic fibrosis or something like that. If you have this condition, you will be filled in just like that. Okay? Again, we would go and fill in any person that has it. And this would all be given to you in the problem. You would not have to go and just fill out random ones. Okay? Now, cystic fibrosis, this is a disease that is inherited only if you are homozygous recessive, okay? So this tells us that this person here is homozygous recessive. That tells us this person here is also homozygous recessive, okay? Now, remember guys, each parent is going to give you one of these letters. So this person, it's a male, got this one from mom, and he got this one from his dad. So this tells us that the mom gave one of these two to that kid. The dad had to give a little r, but the dad is not filled in. So we know the dad would have to be big R, little r, because he gave that little r to the son. Okay? So that is kind of like the basics of a pedigree. The other thing I want to mention, guys, is if you notice, I have this person coming off the side here. This means that this daughter of them married this guy. They had a kid. You never, ever, ever want to do this. Okay? Yeah, don't do that. That's a brother and a sister. We don't want to have a marriage there. Okay? So don't do that one. But all you're doing, guys, is kind of determining the genotypes of these people based on what's going on in their family tree. If we look at this one here, we know this one would be little r, but neither of them is filled in. So we know that neither of these could be little r, because they're not filled in. So we know they either have to be big R, or big R, because this is like complete dominance, to not have that trait. Well, each of them gave that little r, so we know that both of them would be big R, and both of them gave that little R to this person, and that's why they have cystic fibrosis. Okay? So that was just a basic overview of genetics, type of inheritance. Next time I want to go over blood typing with you guys, and then sex-linked inheritance, which is a little more different. And then after that, we'll be all done with genetics. All right, have a good day, everyone.